Hey, everybody, it's your girl, author Doc B. She's in the building. And guess what? We have a special treat for you tonight. We are on part 2 from last week, and this is Bring It to the Table. I am your host. Tonight, we are going to be talking about part 2 of World AIDS Day. We have Dr. Lawrence Bryant. He, a few of you on now. I on LinkedIn, but Bring It to the Table is a safe place where you can come to address any issues you may have that you have overcome, conquered, and survived anything and is living beyond your dreams. And let me tell you, tonight we're going back to our doctor. That is our buddy, our friend, our pal. I'm just going to bring him on in while I keep the memento going. I need my people from Sierra Leone. I need Canada. I need where's my other guy? Let me see. Where is he from? Where's Nancy from? Missouri. Where are my friends at? Come on, y'all. I need you to stream right on in so that you can hear this valuable information and you can hear me and my friend, Dr. Lawrence Bryant. I keep wanting to say Larry because that's what I call him. Oh, and we have a special guest in the studio right there. There go my girlfriend. Say hello.
Hello.
Here she is. Say hello.
Hello.
All right. And so she is visiting us today. She's going to sit down and have some talk with us as well. All right. We are on. Hi, Dr. Lawrence.
Hello, how are you?
Can you
Can
hear me?
you hear me and can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you. Great, 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 great. There's our friend back there. You see her?
That's my lady. That's
I know. That's right.
And
that's
my love
my
for you
lady
too, my
who
friend.
I love more than anybody has ever loved anyone before.
And so I'm having a lot of hesitation tonight for some reason. On my screen, it keeps like stopping. I did get more storage. I did some upgrading and stuff like that this week. So I am going to go on to the page so I can share it because that's what I want to do. I want to share it with some people that are live right now. I want to repost it to your page as well so that your friends can see. And let's take a look and see what's going on. Oh, there we go. We're on. All right, good. It's good stuff. Oh, it looks good when I see it on the okay. Somebody already shared it. That's good stuff. I'm going to send it to quite a few people so that they too can tune in. How was your day, Larry?
My day was phenomenal. The weather in Atlanta was just extraordinary. I
Wasn't it
want to say it
amazing?
was 70 degrees here
Yep.
today. So I made sure I got up and got out in it. And I enjoyed it. Yesterday was just as warm. And so, though I'm from Philadelphia, I love warm weather. So to have 70 degrees in December is certainly an outlier. So I enjoyed my day.
And so did I. And then yesterday, Isla and I went out and she took me to a new restaurant down the street. And I mean, we had such a wonderful time. I'm just exploring little 5 points, you know. And we went to where? What's the name of it? Ozio's. We went to Ozio's.
One of my favorite places.
Oh my goodness. I just learned about it and I guess it's going to be one of mine too. All right, I'm gonna send it to about 50 more people. So, and then we're gonna ask the audience to click like and share. We really do appreciate your participation. And let's tell them the results of the first one, right? Because we had some really good results from the first one. On Instagram, we had how many was it, Larry? I sent it to you. It was over 1,000 viewers.
Wow.
And
That's a lot.
then
That's a lot.
yeah, and then on Facebook we had 500 and something viewers, right?
Right.
And then on, let me see, I can bring this up because I like to share results with you all. Um, and please ask that you keep coming back and you invite someone else each time. And I think word of mouth is the best advertisement. And that's how I think that's how we really got started with spreading the word about my podcast. Like I would ask everyone who was viewing to bring one person the next time. And that's how it kind of went viral. Um,
And I
so
also asked some of my colleagues from Africa, Ghana, Africa, who
oh,
I just
Oh,
recently
wow.
visit, and it was just one of the most riveting experiences I've ever had. But I certainly hope that they're here with us tonight.
well, I'll be able to see. I can't see while we're on, but after we get off, let me tell you, I'll be looking at those numbers. They be popping up, going all around and everything. And I'm so grateful for everybody and all the support. You know, um, the transition from Philadelphia to over here, you know, that was it was a lot, you know, and then trying to still get an audience and things like, oh, my thing is frozen right now. So regular people can see me and I'm stuck. So somebody just thank you all for coming. Click like and share. Appreciate that. I'm gonna bring up the PowerPoint. I think we stopped on slide 13.
Yeah,
Something like that. Like slide 13. Um
that's a good
is
place.
there Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience, you know, about yourself or um, anything that you have, I don't like this one, overcome, conquered, or survived that you would like them to know about?
Well, I shared last week just about my recovery journey. On August the 16th, 2022, we celebrated 30 years in recovery, and it's been such a phenomenal journey. If I could have written out what I wanted for my life when I
Mhm.
came into recovery, I certainly would have sold myself very, very short. It's been a phenomenal ride, but the good news is the ride isn't over. As a matter of fact, it gets greater later. And
Mhm.
so the other big thing in my life that recovery has produced for me is a wonderful, beautiful 28-year-old daughter who now has, today is the 8th, in 3 days, uh, my granddaughter will be 11 months old. And
Wow.
that is just the joy of my life, the joy of recovery. What am I trying to say? That recovery has just unlimited possibilities for
Wow.
life and life abundantly. But here's the thing: it's still a work in progress. It's
Mhm.
still a lifelong learning experience.
Mhm.
And I still believe the biggest thing through all of this is that all of what I went through, the good, the bad, the ugly, the dark
Mhm.
days, the dark years, it wasn't just for me. It was
Mhm.
so that I can stand here before you all and tell you the good news and tell you some of my experiences and how I've overcome them with the help of other people. So we know that part of this journey, none of it has to be done alone. And my journey certainly is supported by many, many, many people who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And so
Mhm.
the other side of that is I see many things in other people that they might not see in themselves. And so I'm able to identify that and support them as much as I possibly can.
I know that's right. I'm with you on that. With that journey, bring it to the table has been an offspring from my my and my book is called The Three C's, and it tells how I started when I was 19, and then how I'm now living beyond my dreams because Dr. Larry, I never saw myself becoming Doc B, you know, the author, the therapist, like who I am. And then Quick story. I was um, passing away. I was dying. And then the next thing you know, I started living after getting to the program, where we go to these places and all these people. And that's what my book said. Who helped me along the journey and how you cannot live life, by yourself, how you need other people to help you with this. I'm looking at the audience. Yes, thank you for joining. And then somebody says, it's never for us, it's always for someone else. They said, oh, look at this, Larry, Dr. Larry. They saying, yes, sir. They saying, yes, sir. Look, that's how they respect us now today. You see that? That's beautiful, isn't it? I love when they start
Absolutely,
commenting and
but certainly from a very humble perspective,
yes.
because again, I look at many of us in recovery look at life differently, not from a pessimistic stance, but we really look at it from empathetic, and really we know the goodness of other people, because we know we wouldn't have the life that we have had it not been for other people
Mm,
whose shoulders we stand on.
I kid you not. And I mean, we're standing and standing proudly and tall. And again, it's beyond my wildest dreams. I'm going to see if I can pull up the PowerPoint because, I'll get to talking and carrying on. And then before you know it, time be done passed. And then we'll be doing a part 3 next week. So we do not
Well,
want
we
that to
might
happen.
not. We might need to do a part 3. We might need to do a part 4. Whatever we need to do, I
Right.
certainly am here to be able to do that.
Nice. And I appreciate that. I really do. So let me see. How did I bring it up before? Let me see. This is what I did. I hit this button right here. And now let's see if this is gonna because it was smooth, didn't it? It just came right up for me. So let's see if we can get that up again today so that we can pick right up. I know it's up because I see it here. Oh, I see. I got it up twice. Okay, let's take this one down. So I had it up twice. I just got rid of one. So let's go back to Dr. Larry. And which way did he go? There he is. Now oh, here it is. So now let's go to Files, Screen Share. There. Let's see if we can get it going.
And hopefully it'll be bigger just so I can see it. If not, I have it up, and while you may not be able to see my face, I may need to actually read from my PowerPoint as opposed to yours. But we'll see how much of the screen it will cover.
Okay. Let's see. I think I did figure out how to um, make it bigger. I think I did do that. Oh,
Okay.
I didn't tell everybody that I was considering you and we're talking about you being my co-host. Let's just
Yes.
put that out there.
Yes.
We can put that
I,
out there
I would be honored. Absolutely.
because I need someone in the Atlanta area,
Okay.
and I think that, you would be really good. You're a wealth of information. Look at all those letters. Did we say what all those letters meant last time? The MPH, the BSW, the RR. Did we tell the audience?
I don't think I was specific, but
Let's do it.
um, can we? So it's still small. Can we make it a
Yep,
little bit
I got
larger?
you. I'm going to do it. Yes, sir.
Okay,
I
great.
got you. Watch this. You're going to say, you did it. And while I'm doing that, you can tell them. Hold on.
So the NPH is a Master of Public Health. Well, first, let's the RRT, Registered Respiratory Therapist. That's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Was right after high school, 1971. I went right to respiratory therapy school because I knew that's what I wanted to do, because I worked in a hospital as an orderly, and I automatically wanted to go into respiratory therapy. So I did, and so in 1975, I graduated with an associate's in respiratory therapy. So that's what that RRT is. And I just retired from respiratory therapy after 45 years in
Wow.
2020. In
There's
20,
the baby. Congratulations on everything. Now that's larger. Do you see it?
I do see it.
And there's the benefits of recovery.
Okay.
And then there is
Yeah,
the objectives.
I'm able to see it. I'm able to see it. So we can go to
Yay.
slide 13. That would be great.
Uh-huh. Did you want to give them an overview real quick? No, we good.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead. You can.
No, go. Yeah, just you can go ahead to 13. But basically, just a recap. So we did this initially for World AIDS Day,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, December 1st is World AIDS Day, where the world recognizes and acknowledges the state of HIV/AIDS, and also provides some trends in terms of where we are in the epidemic. And so the theme this year was what they call equalize.
Mm-hmm.
We use the word equalize, and what that meant is we need to begin to address the inequities in terms of HIV/AIDS epidemic. And so initially in the early 80s, when the epidemic broke, it really was the face of white gay men. So
Mm-hmm.
we then need to ask ourselves the question, how is it that almost 40 years later, does it look like black and brown people? Whereas the CDC has put out data where within the next 50 years, 1 in 2 black gay men will have HIV. We need to ask
Mm-hmm.
how that happened, because in terms of behavior, there's really no difference between white gay sexual behavior and black gay sexual behavior. So there are these other things that prevent us from achieving equity in terms of things like access to health care, seeing
Mm-hmm.
culturally responsive kinds of outreach and care. And so when we look particularly at access, we have to say that that's probably the overarching issue as to
Mm-hmm.
why the face of HIV/AIDS has changed. And
Okay.
so when we talk about equalizing, we want to do more than talk. We've been talking for 40 years. We
Yeah.
need to begin to um, have evidence-based, culturally responsive, cultural humility kinds of interventions that
Mhm.
work in our community. And
Right.
again, these steps have to be action, and we have to have the will to be able to do it. We're doing some wonderful things. Although we've got problems and issues within our community, we also have strength. So I also want to talk a little bit about those and how the strength in our community really has provided the catalyst for keeping us together and providing some solidarity just in terms of focusing our efforts on HIV and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
And so we also talked about um, the two main substances that we're concerned about, and that's stimulants, actually just stimulants.
Yep.
And we talked a little bit about cocaine,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
just
the
how
meth. I think we did the meth.
we did coke, and we did particularly crystal meth,
Crystal
which
meth.
is very
Yes.
pervasive in the gay community overall, but also
Mm-hmm.
the incidence, in other words, the new cases of crystal meth is really, really increasing dramatically
Oh yeah.
among black gay men. We're not talking about that because we're talking about the opioid epidemic, because it's affecting whites. And so if
Uh-oh.
we haven't learned anything else about the HIV/AIDS epidemic,
Mm-hmm.
if we don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, if we don't understand that all communities, even if the prevalence is different in one community versus the other community, that we still have to make sure that we are inclusive of all communities. Because ultimately, just like the HIV/AIDS epidemic has done, it
Mm-hmm.
will change face.
Right. And let me just share with the audience real quick. So, World AIDS Day was actually 7 days ago today, December the 1st. And it's December the 1st each and every year. And as a launch in my expanding my brand from the north to the south, where I landed in Atlanta, Georgia, I've invited Dr. Lawrence Bryant to bring me right on into an audience in the Atlanta area because I've expanded. Bring it to the table is expanded. So um, Dr. Lawrence came on last week and he told us a lot of things about HIV and AIDS. But after we got off, what I did is I went and I looked on WWWNA, that, and UN, that stands for United Nations, AIDS, AIDS.org, where it literally talks about 40 million lives was lost to AIDS. 40 million lives lost to AIDS. It also gives some current HIV statistics. And it says 650,000 people died from HIV related causes. And then, can you speak to a little bit to the audience about that in regards to dying from it? Because what they are fearful of, and I think that they're not as fearful as they were when HIV and AIDS first hit the scene, but still today, people, are scared, and it says right here that they when they die, it's because of some sort of relation to some symptom or some signs or whatever the underlying conditions may have been. But you just can't kiss a person and die and get HIV. You just can't swap saliva and die and get HIV. There has to be an overwhelming amount of these fluids. Can you speak to that, to the audience for that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And the slide is very appropriate. One of the ways that people die from HIV now is because they're not tested. So they don't know their status.
Mm.
And oftentimes, when a person comes into the emergency room with an HIV related symptoms, once it gets to the symptomatic stage, it's usually pretty advanced, which means it's much more difficult to treat. And so when we talk about the reasons why people die worldwide, of course, we know that in some of the poorer countries as well, people don't have access to antiretroviral therapy. That's the ART, antiretroviral therapy. That's a life-saving drug.
Yeah.
And it is a drug whose goal is to decrease. So we talked about the viral load. So the viral load is the amount of HIV in your system. So we can numeralize the amount of HIV, and we can determine what that is. And the goal of antiretroviral therapy is to get our viral load to what we call, you see in that purple box, to undetectable. So I want everybody to make sure that you remember that word, because that's very, very important.
Okay, undetectable.
Once antiretroviral therapy is effective and you get to be undetectable, here is the miracle. Here is the good news. You cannot pass the virus.
Nice.
So I'm going to let you sit with that for a minute.
Nice. Come on.
Once you become undetectable is preventable. Or is prevention, I'm sorry. Undetectable is prevention. Now, that does not mean that HIV has been completely eradicated from your body, because HIV has a tendency, it's a smart virus. It really does. And it can hide in what we call reservoirs. And even though with the current equipment we have, it's undetectable, we know that it's still there. But the thing is, if we can get levels to undetectable, you cannot transmit it to other people.
Nice.
Now, many people have said, particularly young people, well, I can just take a pill and I can become undetectable, so I don't have to worry about anything. That's not all the way true.
Okay.
Because there also are other STIs that are rampant. When we talk about syphilis, about gonorrhea.
And that stuff been around way before HIV and AIDS.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing. We don't want to risk catching HIV, even though there's this medication out there, because everyone can't take all kinds of medication, even though there's a plethora of different medications, much more than it was when early on we had the toxic AZT. No, but it may take a while, and it may take your body to get accustomed to a variety of different kinds of medication. And so you just don't want to put yourself at risk for that. And so, although, again, undetectable is our goal, we still want to be very careful because, again, there are other STIs which really, really can become very, very problematic. And not only that, to treat HIV, even to become undetectable, is very, very expensive. Very expensive. And so, if at all possible, if you can prevent catching it, and we've got medication now to help prevent you from even catching it. So if you're HIV negative, and I think one of the other slides kind of speaks to this, if you're HIV negative, then you can take what we call PrEP. Pre-exposure prophylaxis. And it's very effective. But here's the problem. It has not been disseminated, particularly through the BIPOC community, as it is in the white community. So the uptake has to increase in our community so we can continue to halt the spread of HIV, so that one out of every two Black gay men getting HIV, so we can send that back to the pit where it came from, because that does not have to be our reality.
All right. Really does. I love it. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to go to the next slide.
No.
Not yet?
No.
Okay.
Because here's the other thing.
Okay.
The orange box here says medication adherence.
Oh, the adherence. Okay.
Very important. Although we've got antiretroviral therapy, it has to be taken as prescribed. I want to say that again. It has to be taken as prescribed, because if you don't, the virus can become resistant, and that particular medication may no longer work for you. So you don't want to risk missing medications. And it only takes a few misses in order for some viruses to become more resistant.
Wow.
And so when we talk about medication adherence, what that means is, are you adhering to your medication as prescribed by your physician? And that's extremely important in order to maintain one at an undetectable level.
Wow.
And the last box.
Disclosure.
Save this for last. The beige box, disclosure. I think people are getting better at telling other people before they engage in any kind of romance or sexual activity of their status, even though a person could be undetectable. It's still prudent to disclose to your partner that your HIV status. And here's why. There still is HIV criminalization in many states.
Yes.
That's very, very serious.
So when you say criminalization, talk about that for a minute. You mean they're going to jail for spreading HIV, correct?
No.
Okay, talk to the people.
It's not even that easy. No. Many laws on the books say that you don't have to give HIV to anybody. It does not have to be proven that you give HIV to somebody. You just have to expose them.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you know you are HIV positive and you don't disclose it to your partner, and they turn you in many, many states, you can be prosecuted. And some of the prosecution and criminal laws are very draconian.
Wow.
Very draconian, especially among trans people.
Wow.
And in I want to say it's Missouri, but don't quote me on this, but it's one state is that if you are a trans person and you are arrested for prostitution and it's found out that you're HIV, instead of it being a misdemeanor like it normally is, if they find out that you're HIV, it then becomes a felony.
Wow.
So these are some of the laws that are on the books. Now, while many advocates are advocating against these draconian laws because they do not keep up with the science, but the bottom line is, and here's the other thing that one has to be very careful,
Mm-hmm.
because there have been circumstances where um, once individuals have broken up with each other and the
Mm-hmm.
scorned lover wants to get back at the other, they'll
Mm-hmm.
just say that this person exposed me to HIV. Doesn't have to be proven, just has to be said by another person. So it's oftentimes prudent that you get documentation somewhere, in a text, in an email, somewhere, that you have had the discussion with this individual of your HIV status.
Wow. That's crazy.
It is.
That's something.
But,
That's something.
and I'm telling you, people are in jail right now for years. Now, some people, the other end of that spectrum is some people knowingly passed, and this is even before, um, you know,
The law stuff.
antiretroviral therapy were as
Mm-hmm.
popular as they are now. There were some people that just went around and just spreading the virus because their attitude was, somebody gave it to me, so I'm gonna give it to everybody.
I'm gonna get. I remember that. I remember that.
So there are still those persons that exist. But again, the laws have not kept up with the science. And
Mm-hmm.
so until that happens, I would just say to everyone, first of all, know the laws in your state, because it's state to state. So each state is different. Some states are more liberal than other states, but some states are very, very strict,
Mm-hmm.
very strict. And so just know the criminality laws within your state.
Got it. Disclosure. Y'all heard that, folks. Disclosure. Medication adherence. Take it as prescribed. Undetectable. That's the goal.
How are we
ART.
how are we doing with time?
Half an hour.
Okay, so we good. We good.
Yeah, we're good.
Is there any questions, or the audience have anything that they would like to comment on, or anything before we move forward?
I can't see it. I spread it the PowerPoint all the way across the screen so you could see
Okay, well,
it.
maybe towards the end when we're finished with this,
Yeah,
if there are any questions that I can answer,
they
or
know.
we may need to go on to part 3.
That's fine with me. We have
Yes.
4 weeks. 4
Okay.
weeks.
So let's go to the next slide.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. There you go.
So I just wanted to sort of contextualize this so you can actually see this graph here, this chart.
Okay.
And these are the new HIV diagnosis in the United States and
Wow.
dependent areas for the most affected subpopulation. This is 2019.
Mhm.
So there's probably even more updated data. Of course, the data is usually a little bit behind the actual year, but this is 2019.
Right.
But when you look at the data, the very top bar is what we are concerned about. And what that is saying is that Black men who have sex with men, or male to male sex, is the highest in terms of HIV/AIDS. So
Yeah.
Black gay men are at the epicenter of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. And I want to say that second bar, I can't see it real well, but I want to say that second bar is Hispanic.
Yes, says Hispanic male to male sexual contact.
And what's the third bar?
White male to male sexual contact.
Okay. So you can see those 3 bars, but look at the disparities. That's what I want to talk about. Look at, why is it that Black gay men bear the brunt of this epidemic? And also Hispanics are not that far behind. I think the data for Hispanics is 1 in 4 will get HIV. And so why is it that these populations, populations that are underserved, why is it that we are bearing the brunt of the HIV/AIDS?
Mm-hmm.
And so this chart is really, I think it's just a good indication
Yeah.
where the work and where the focus and where the resources really need to be.
Nice. All right. Wow, look at that. And you highlighted it at top there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Undetectable.
So yeah, and this slide,
Practice.
if you want to take a picture of this with your
Okay.
phone, if you just have this etched in the back of your mind,
Mhm.
being undetectable is a protective factor. Undetectable is HIV/AIDS prevention. But here it is, you have got to know your status. In this
Mhm.
next slide, it's really going to look at some of the gaps in terms of testing and the work that we really need to do. But again, let's go back to that other one.
Backwards.
Yeah, backwards for a minute.
Okay.
And really in terms of protective factors, when we say protective factors, those are factors that help us protect ourselves against
Mhm.
catching HIV. And so still low risk sexual activities, condom use correctly
Mhm.
is still appropriate.
Wow. Well, did you hear recently? And I couldn't wait till you bring up the condom situation. But did you hear recently in the United States of America that there is a shortage of condoms?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yes, it just came out. This is breaking news this week. There is a
Is that
shortage.
worldwide or just the United
It's
States?
in the United States of America. There is a shortage of condoms right now. I'm going to see as you continue your presentation if I could bring up the actual article and share it with the audience. But go ahead. You keep going and I'll find it. Go ahead.
Yeah. But also another protective factor, uptake of PrEP, pre-exposure
Mhm,
prophylaxis. And and the other thing is this. Oftentimes I've gone to conferences and we talk a lot about the gay community and the Latino community, but also we have to also embrace the heterosexual male community as well, because oftentimes they're the ones that don't think that they are at risk for HIV. So we've got to focus we got to be inclusive. We must be inclusive because HIV/AIDS is not a group disease. It's not a gay
mhm.
disease. It's not a straight disease. It's a behavior.
Behavior, absolutely.
It's
Come
a
on.
behavioral disease. So we got to make sure that everyone is included. And I never will forget at this one conference, this NASM conference I went to, and this guy pulled me aside. He says, I feel so unincluded, is the word I think he used, in this whole process, because it was an HIV/AIDS conference,
Mhm,
because my issues and the issues of heterosexual men just are not being addressed. So
mhm,
when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we want to make sure that everyone is included. And here's the other left out community,
mhm.
bisexuals. Now we talk about LGBTQ, but when
Mm.
do we ever talk about the B?
Never, never.
And we just started talking about the T.
The T, right.
So
Yeah, it's true.
we got to do better with that. We really do, in terms of inclusive. And on top of that, we also have to do better, with those that are living with HIV or living with other comorbidities, and making sure that we include those that have disabilities.
Mhm.
Some individuals with long-term HIV have neuropathy
Yes,
and other
yes.
kinds of heart disease, that kind of a thing. We really have to be inclusive in terms of making sure that these populations get everything that they need. And we
Uh-oh.
do it from an equitable lens,
Equitable.
not an equal lens, but
Mhm.
an equitable lens. And let me just take a minute to discern those two entities. Because
Sure.
when we talk about equality, right, that's providing services equally across the board. So I don't care who you are, where you come from,
Mhm.
you get the same thing.
Right.
But here is the problem with that. Not everybody has the same needs. So what we
Right.
want to focus on
Nice.
is equity. And so what equity says is there may be different resources for different individuals, different populations, but the bottom line is we are concerned with outcomes. And what that means is we want to make sure that people are successful in getting their needs met, regardless of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they have a disability, whether there are gender issues,
Or whatever.
whatever the issues, immigrants,
Right.
and these other populations that oftentimes we sort of circumvent and
Mm-hmm.
that are invisible. But
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about looking and dealing with HIV from a holistic perspective, we've got to be inclusive of everyone.
Absolutely. I love it. We really should be. So I did find that article, and it came out 8 days ago. And Newsweek released this information. Condoms are in such short supply. Listen to this. In Kenya, Kenya. That's your spot, isn't it? You love Kenya.
Well, I've never been to Kenya. I do love Kenya, but I really, really love Ghana only because I've been there.
No. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then it says supply in Kenya. And listen to this. This is reported by sex workers. They are forced to wash and reuse them or risk exposing themselves to sexual transmitted diseases.
Wow.
The Kenya government is expected to be able to provide 150 million condoms to citizens, but requirements are forecasted as being 62 million for by the time July of 2023 come. And it says that the United States gets theirs primarily from Kenya.
Really? Okay, interesting.
Mhm.
So, this is a
And wait,
learning
and one more thing.
experience.
And then one more thing. It says that the sex workers are complaining that the $1 for the 3-pack of condoms are just a little bit too much these days. According to the economy, and the government that usually distributes them for free is now charging them, and it's
Wow.
spread it out into the United States because that's where allegedly we get them from. This is what the article says. And it says it's talked about a population fund, UNFPA. It talks about that fund through the global funding of the United States, of the United Nations, and that it has increased taxes for them. And that's why you don't get them for free anymore. Ain't that something?
It is. Well,
Ain't
thank you for
that
the
something?
information. And I'm learning as much from you all as you all from me, because I actually didn't know that. But you said it just came out. But I
8 days
certainly am
ago.
going to do some investigating and make sure that I put that in my presentation. So thank you for that.
No, not a problem. It just came out 8 days ago. I thought about you, and I knew I was going to bring it up because I knew we were going to be on tonight. Did you want me to go to the next slide?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Here we go.
So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this slide, but just in terms of sharing my journey is a 12-step journey. I'm not going to say what particular 12-step because I don't really represent a 12-step program.
Right.
But just to know that in my darkest day, when I thought there was no more hope, when I thought I was going to die with a needle in my arm, people from a 12-step program reached out to me.
Come on.
While I didn't get it right away, it took me a while to get it. Nevertheless, they opened that door, the door of hope, the door to know that there was a way out.
Yes.
Because in the trenches of substance use, you feel like there's just no way out. And I think I shared this last week. My youth started in Los Angeles, California. I lived there during the 80s. And I remember walking every day past the graveyard. And I remember subconsciously saying to myself, Larry, if something doesn't change, you're going to buy you an early grave.
Yes, you said that last week. Yes, you did.
Over there. And I'm so glad that was not my reality because I just knew it was just a matter of time.
Yeah.
I just knew it. And so I guess not everybody follows the same pathway or the same trajectory. There's no one proven single pathway to recovery. But one thing that I have learned is whatever pathway you take, you don't have to do this alone. And as a matter of fact, we can't do it alone. But once we find the support that works for us, I tell you that our lives change.
Yes, it does. And so we're at our 10-minute mark, just so you know.
Okay.
10 minutes.
So let's go to the next slide. And I want to do two. I want to make sure I do two slides. Inclusive language. And I put this slide in because these are things that we can do now.
Oh, this is what I need. I asked you to send me this, remember?
Yes.
I love this.
Yes. And so when we're talking about substance use disorder, there is language that's stigmatized language. We want to move away from stigmatized language, and we want to move towards affirming, respectful language. Yes. And while I can't really see this because it's so,
I will be more than happy to do this.
No. I was able to increase my screen. I didn't know.
All right now.
So most important, we no longer use the term addict because it's a stigmatized language. We use person, and this is person-centered language with a substance use disorder. Now, how I identify myself personally is my business. But in terms of how we refer to other people, we want to move away from stigmatized language. Another example, if we look on the stigmatized language, left-hand side, we'll see the term clean. And we're all used to using that term clean. I'm clean. But we want to move away from that. And we want to use the term abstinence, abstinent, abstinent. Another example, instead of using the term drug abuser, we stick with person-centered language and we use person who uses drugs.
Yeah, I love it.
And one more very important, instead of the term relapse that we're all so used to using, we use the term recurrence of substance use or symptoms.
Yes. And I just have to go to this one, and you always skip it. But I'm going to say, because this is the second time I heard your presentation, and I love when you do them. I really do. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on the show. But that crack babies.
Yes. Woo.
Ooh, that thing hit me so hard. It says, don't use crack babies anymore. You say that these are the infant was exposed to the substance.
Substance exposed infant, yes.
Exposed infant.
And let me just say that
I love that.
I have to take this and put it next to my computer because I still find myself at times using the stigmatized language, but I try to catch myself. And so that it just becomes habit to use this more preferred language when we're talking about substance use matter. But you can get this off of the ATTC website. And it's just Google ATTC. That's Addiction.
I got it.
Technology Transfer Center.
Okay.
And you can pull that right up. But let's go to the next slide.
Sure.
And this also takes it to the affirming language in terms of the LGBTQ plus community, because oftentimes we all get caught up in what we should say. There just seems like there's so many letters. There's the L, there's the G, there's the B, there's the Q, there's the and we don't oftentimes know what all of those things mean. But in terms of moving away from stigmatized language and moving towards affirming language, we no longer use the term homosexual, because that certainly has very stigmatized and derogatory kinds of meaning. We say gay people. Right. We don't use the term sexual preference anymore. We use the term sexual orientation. We don't use the term gay lifestyle anymore. We use the term LGBTQ plus people. Again, people-centered language and their lives. We move away from the term Black men who have sex with men, BMSM, because that's a term that scientists is given to Black gay men.
Isn't that something?
Really makes us feel like we're just men who just have sex all the time with other men. But we move towards the term same gender loving, which is much
Okay.
more respectful, which
Yes.
really says that really our relationships are about loving as opposed to just having sex. And
And I've
again,
seen more happier gay relationships than, don't get me started, heterosexual.
well, absolutely, absolutely. And the term tranny that we used to use all the time, we move away from that and we use the term transgender people, transgender, or we just use the term trans, trans. And I have to apologize too, because I think earlier when I was referencing criminality and I used the word prostitution, but we move away from that term prostitution towards the term, and you reminded me of the sex workers. Not prostitutes, sex workers. So I apologize for that, but we're all in progress here. But and when we don't get it right, we apologize.
That's right.
We say I'm sorry. And when we don't know what people want to be called, we ask them, "What is it that you would like to be called?"
Well, I've gotten in trouble so many times at different jobs, forgetting to say he when it was she, or she when it was he, and wanting to be called Jamila, and it was really James, and stuff. And I can own up to that. I've gotten in trouble a lot. It took me, because it seemed like my brain, for some reason, Dr. Larry, my brain could not make the adjustment. It could not make the adjustment like almost instantly, as if they wanted me to get it like right now. I wasn't even aware. It didn't even mean anything to me. But today it does.
Absolutely.
And that's and I find that in the workplace, a lot of people overlook of that. You know what I mean? And then I can do a whole show on that by itself.
Let's do that.
The treatment of the LGBTQ community. I can do that's a whole show, just the way they're treated in workplaces, doctors' offices,
and so I'd love to do a presentation on diversity, equity, and inclusion at some point. But if we can go to the next slide, I think this will be the last slide, because let's even go to the next one.
Takeaways. Lost dreams.
Is there another one after that? Okay, let's go back to lost dreams. And so, this slide really does help us to understand that there's hope for us.
Yes.
If we have the will to implement these life-saving strategies. And again, when I was just in respiratory therapy school, I never will forget, I saw a professor, and I mean, this particular professor was political science, and he was the only Black professor in the whole community college that I knew of, but he made an impression on me. And I said to myself, I want to be a professor one day. And so, my substance use got in the way of that, but ultimately, that lost dream was awakened. And new possibilities exist. And so I like to leave you with this. And this is for the younger generation, in terms of what are some principles, what are some survival skills for those who been living long term with HIV. One of the central things that they say is that faith is very important to them in terms of incorporating it into their life. They say that medication adherence is absolutely important, that if you're on medication, you've got to take it as prescribed.
Yes.
Identifying and being a part of social networks, including your family support, very important. Really, if you have a substance use disorder issue, get help. However that help looks, get help. And also, incorporating PrEP for HIV negative individuals, and PEP for those individuals that may have been exposed. That's post-exposure prophylaxis. That's a medication that you can take after you think that you may have been prescribed. And just, some things that can de-stress you: mindfulness, meditation,
Mhm.
Education is important. Educate yourself about the disease. Educate yourself about new medication. We've got medications out now where you can take an injection every other month.
Mhm.
And there are medications coming down the pipe where you only need to take it every 6 months. So there are a lot of innovative kinds of treatment that's out there now and that will become available very, very soon. And here's the other, probably the biggest thing of them all. And
Mhm.
that is establishing and having a relationship with your provider
Nice.
and making sure that that relationship is a respectful one, that you got somebody you can trust and somebody that you feel cares about your overall well-being.
Very good. Well, there it is, folks. You have heard it right here with your host, author Doc B. Bring it to the table with your guy, Dr. Lawrence Bryant. He dropped it like it was hot 2 weeks in a row, broke us in Atlanta area. We do not have time for questions, but you do have my emails. Please look me up on Twitter, Facebook, even on my private Facebook page, my book club. Everybody, just look me up and drop all of your questions there. And we are definitely going to have Dr. Lawrence for the next 2 weeks. We do not have a topic for our next one, but I'm sure. What did you say? You want to do inclusive? You want to do inclusion?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, yeah. Mhm.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, I didn't pick it. He picked it. It's his platform for the next 2 weeks. So let's thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Click, like, and share, everyone. And please come back on next Thursday night at 8 p.m. Look out for the flyers, share them with everyone. I'm trying to build that Atlanta audience. I need your help.
And if you can put my email address as well as my LinkedIn um, address there, and you can find it in my Kennesaw signature line, so
Okay.
that you can learn more about. I have a consulting company
Mm-hmm.
where I do these presentations all over the world, and I can bring it to you wherever you are, either virtually or in person. And so, I want to make sure that you're able to contact me or just contact me with questions. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing research. The other thing at Capella University, I've been directing student dissertations for many, many years. So, we want to, see, I can't tell you the number of people that, once they knew I had my doctorate in recovery, that they've gone and they've gotten their doctors too. There's so many recovering
Yeah.
people now with doctors.
Yeah, it happened. Yes, it is. Thank
Yes,
God. You
yes.
said it. Lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arrive. And this is one right here on this platform of Bring It to the Table with your girl, author Doc B, your host. All right. We got to be out. Peace out. God bless.
Peace
And all that other good
out.
stuff. Peace out. And we'll see you next week with our topic. It's going to be hot and juicy. Look out for
Yes.
the flyers. It's coming to a neighborhood near you. And make sure you invite a friend. Please click like and share this episode. Thanks.
Mhm.
That was nice.